Hello, good morning and welcome to NewsDesk. We're live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125. We're streaming across all our social media handles. We're joining News on TV. Coming up this morning, calls heightened for a special probe into the conduct of the Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame in the trial of the minority leader Dr. Kole Lagoon and others. More as it emerges that claims that the AG knew nothing about the meeting between businessman Richard Jakpa is not entirely accurate. We're also live in court where the case will be heard today. Also in this bulletin, Ghana Education Service interdicts 3 officers of Summit Senior High School in the Volta region for allegedly stealing food items belonging to the school. And later in the bulletin, in our filter exhibition, we'll take you to Sodom and Gomorrah as the dredging of the Kole Lagoon continues to question about the persistent efficacy of this, tackling the broader waste problem and plaguing the Accra city. Would ask if the dredging is good enough because the waste problem persists.
The lagoon is being dredged, but I think it's waste of time and resources.
Thanks for choosing us. We're your home of independent, fearless, incredible journalism. My name is Faustina Safu. Take a seat. Be my guest. Thanks for staying with us. Now, there are calls for an unnamed sitting Supreme Court judge to be impeached if his role in the raging witness tampering case is established. Now, one of the accused persons in the trial of Dr. Kole Lagoon alleged in open court an attempt by the Attorney General to get him to incriminate the minority leader. Well, this meeting is said to have been held at the instance and in the residence of this yet-to-be-named Supreme Court judge. We'll get more on this shortly, but first, Kwekwa Santi of our legal desk has been tracking all the major developments since the scandal broke last Thursday and has more in this report.
The bombshell was dropped in court on Thursday whilst the third accused person, Richard Jakpa, was under cross-examination. The NDC made a big deal out of this right after court.
We as a political party are totally scandalized and disgusted. We've always known that this is a stock in trade of Godfred Yeboah-Dame.
Later in the day, the Attorney General's department swiftly denied any wrongdoing.
Is it lawful for prosecution to engage an accused person? Yes, it's lawful. Who has, especially one who has put in a plea request?
There are now calls for the allegation to be thoroughly investigated. Listen to private legal practitioners Justice Sai and Samson Ladianyanini.
We should be looking at a commission of inquiry or at least a parliamentary inquiry into this.
They are serious enough, warranting the attention of the right institutions for what has to be done.
The pressure is mounting on Godfred Dame to resign or be fired by President Akufo-Addo. Kweku Asasare is a former director of the Ghana School of Law.
For my respectable Dame to engage himself in this scandalous manner, I mean, if he has a conscience, no one should advise him. He has to advise himself to resign or the president must fire him.
Later today, the NDC is expected to put its evidence regarding this scandal out, while the NPP has also scheduled a news conference to respond.
Well, thankfully, Kwekwa Santi joins me in studio with further details. Kweku, this trial has been ongoing for 2 years, 5 months, hasn't it? Give us details.
In fact, it was in 2021-2022 at the height of the E-Levy debate when the Attorney General filed the charges against Dr. Kole Lagoon and the minority leader and 2 other accused persons, Mr. Amanema, who was then the Chief Director of the Ministry of Health, and then Richard Jakpa. As the case has been going on, Mr. Amanema, who was the second accused person, has been discharged by the court because the Attorney General said they have found evidence that there was not much to be done. And so these 3 individuals were dragged to court on December 23, 2021 for allegedly causing financial loss to the state to the tune of 2.37 million euros to the state in a deal to purchase some 200 ambulances for the country between 2014 and 2016. We know now that the ambulances have not been delivered to the country but the AG and the state says those ambulances are defective. So these are the three persons. The minority leader, Dr. Kole Lagoon, is also MP for Adwumaku Enyane Siam. Dr. Sylvester Animana, the former chief director of the Ministry of Health, and Richard Jakpa, a businessman. As we speak, Dr. Sylvester Animana has been discharged from the case because the AGs have filed evidence against him that he's really not involved in this attempt to cause financial loss to the state. And so it's only Richard Jakpa and the Attorney General and the minority leader, Dr. Kole Lagoon, who are still undergoing trial. Listen, this does not mean the man is dead. He's still alive. He has just been discharged as we speak now. So if you look at the trail of the evidence and the source of how this went about. In 2009, John Evans Atamels, at the State of the Nation address, they talk about his government's plan to purchase some new ambulances in Parliament. So he said that. Yeah. Then Richard Jakpa reached out to government and says, if you want to do something like that, I'm a businessman, I can put you through to some persons to get you those ambulances. Then on the 30th of April 2012, the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Health, after having dealt with Richard Jakpa, applies for parliamentary approval for supply of 200 ambulances at 15.8 million euros. Memorandum to Parliament did not reference any role to be played by Big C. At the time, it was Stanbic Bank that was going to do any of these things. So if you go to the next slide, these are the trail of the evidence that we are seeing. Now we can go to the next slide. Then
in November,
Dr. Sylvester Animana writes to the PPA seeking approval to engage Big C through sole sourcing, and that is why he was involved in the case. The Ministry of Health formally contracted Big C to supply these ambulances.
Meaning it was approved.
Definitely.
The approval of the salt was approved.
Through the PPA, 25 of these vehicles were delivered, with 120 to be delivered at a later date. Dr. Atuforsen and his involvement in this case is that he wrote to the Bank of Ghana to issue letters of credit to the tune of 3.95 million for 50 of those ambulances in favor of Big C. And letters of credit in commercial law practice is when you have to issue a letter that if this company does this, you have to pay him this amount of money. And so the Bank of Ghana were instructed by Dr. Atuforsen's letters of credit to make that payment to Big C.
And this was in 2014, or
that was in 2014, exactly. 2014, the same year, a consignment of these 10 ambulances was shipped from Dubai. They arrived. And then in February of the next year, 2015, the ambulances were inspected. And then it was seen that they had defects. Some 20 ambulances were again brought in and they had defects. A total amount of 2.37 million euros was paid for these 30 ambulances that were found to have been defective. Alex Segbefia, the then Minister for Health, and John Dramani Mahama, wrote to Big C that the vehicles did not meet the ambulance specifications that the government of Ghana were looking at, for which reason they wanted to transact.
That's in 2016.
That was in 2016. And you will soon know that right after that, the NDC lost the election and they did not, they could not have continued this deal. The government took over and then said that there were some cases to be answered. So the case has gone to court. As we speak, the Attorney General, who is prosecuting this case on behalf of the state, has closed his case. Dr. Kole Lagoon has also closed his case, the minority leader. The second accused person, like I told you, Dr. Amanima, has been discharged. And then the third accused person, Richard Jakpa, is currently in his defense and he was cross-examined last week. The cross-examination, we understand, will continue today. But this is the bombshell. This is
why we're having issues, and this is why there are calls for the Attorney General to be probed. And also be removed.
To be removed or be fired by the President. That's
questions are, Kweku, before you go on, questions are, when the statement was made in court, did the Attorney General refute it in court?
The Attorney General himself was in court. Richard Jakpa was under cross-examination by the NDC Director of Legal, who is acting as the lawyer for Dr. Kole Lagoon in this case. That's exactly the quote. The AG, Godfred Dame, has on several occasions engaged me at odd hours to help him make a case against A1, that is Dr. Kole Lagoon, and I have evidence for that. He goes on and on about how he has a Pandora box that he will open. If he pushes me, I will open the Pandora's box. I do not understand why the AG will accuse me of defending A1. That's
A1 here is Atuforsen.
When I am here to defend myself. And the question you asked is instructive because the Attorney General was in court, but he did not say anything about this. Obviously, the explanation...
Why? Because that would mean it will go into the actual documentation of court proceedings.
The AG's office has explained that at some point they will get their own time to cross-examine Richard Jakpa, and if the Attorney General finds it worthy, he will raise those issues in his cross-examination. The NDC, as we know, has been weighing on in this quite bigly, and that is a statement that the NDC put out saying that they are deeply scandalized by what they call a clear case of persecution against the leader of the NDC's caucus in Parliament, who has been at the forefront of the NDC struggle against the misrule of the oppressive and despotic Akufo-Addo NPP regime. That was a statement that was signed by National Chairman Johnson Esiedu Nketia. So that is it. This revelation goes to confirm legitimate and long-held suspicion of the devious modus operandi of Godfrey Dame and the government he represents. The NDC weighing on that heavily last week when they did see that. The AG then replies. They speak to us on Top Story, but also put out a statement and say, quote, "The Republic has never required or desired the cooperation of any of the accused persons in the matter. It was rather the third accused person who has proposed to the Republic through the Attorney General to engage in a plea bargaining, but has not been accepted." And the AG's office has since put out some letters from the Richard Jakpa asking for a plea bargaining. And so that has been the response of the Attorney General. And that is the state of play now for Sina.
Interesting. Today there will be court proceedings. Yes. What should we be looking forward to?
We expect that Richard Jakpa will get back into the box. He'll be cross-examined by Edoji Kujota-Makolo on behalf of Dr. Kole Lagoon. We understand the AG might have traveled out of the country and may not be available in court today. We don't know if he has arrived and will be in court today, and probably will seek to impeach the evidence that were laid against him because now he's under fire. In fact, on the AM show today, a professor of law at the University of Ghana School, Professor Koja Piejetua, is joining the cause that the AG must resign or be fired. And all these are coming on. We've heard from Kweku Ansah-Sarri, who also says the AG's conduct in this matter is nothing short of scandalous, and he believes the AG must step aside or the president must fire him. Something like that, and Co. I've already spoken about how certain issues, certain facts that have been put out by the Attorney General's office are simply not corroborated.
Thank you, Kweku. We'll be hearing from some of them as we move on in the show. Thank you for your time. We'll be following that story closely, and I'm sure at 12 p.m. when we bring you our midday news, we'll be giving you updates about whatever pans out in court. Now, let's hear from a former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kweku Ansah-Sarri, who says that the unnamed Supreme Court judge must be removed from office if he instigated the meeting.
It is true that the meeting took place at the house of the sitting Supreme Court judge.
Right.
The Chief Justice, should set the ball rolling. The president has the right to the Chief Justice, but let us wait until we know who this Supreme Court judge. Maybe it's not just like you call me a professor. I'm not a professor. So maybe a magistrate who is being referred to as sitting justice of the Supreme Court. When we get to that, we know how to process it. We haven't read the bridge yet.
But private legal practitioner Samson Ladi Ayeni says claims that the AG department and the Attorney General did not know about this meeting but was instigated by the sitting Supreme Court judge is untrue. Listen.
What I am informed suggests that what the AG's spokesperson told MFA is a big lie. That the claim of the involvement of a judge directly and the AG being unaware, that's what I'm reliably informed, and have been pointed to something which shows that that claim potentially in the course of events will fall flat as a lie.
Thanks for staying with us here on NewsDesk. Now, let's do other stories now. The Ghana Education Service has interdicted three senior officers of Summer Senior High School in Agbozome in the K2 South District of the Volta region for allegedly stealing food items under the free SHS program belonging to the school. My colleague Maxwell Agwagwa joins me via Zoom with more details. Maxwell, let's get an understanding what actually happened and what triggered these investigations.
But we are told that the investigation was sparked by a search conducted by some old students and the assembly member on the evening of last week, Friday. And we are told that as the Beza and the matron were leaving the school, a search was conducted on them. And then items including tomatoes, mackerel, cleaning agents, and insecticide spray, among other items, were found in the matron's, possession. We are told that 2 other individuals, including an assistant headmistress and a cook, they were arrested for their alleged involvement in what more or less looks like a group of people who really have been stealing food items meant for students. We are told the assistant headmistress was subsequently detained by the police for further inquiry and interrogations.
Do we know the identity of these individuals? Was it indicated in the GS statement?
Well, in a statement released by the Ghana Education Service, we are told that Richard Ametohe, who is a Beza, Yom Jikuno, who is a matron, and Alex Obuedi, who is a storekeeper, all of them of the Soma Senior High School, have been interdicted with immediate effect. And this is pending further investigations into the alleged stealing of the 3 SHS food items. We are told that the 3 officers are also to hand over to the headmaster of the school, and the investigative committee has been given 2 weeks to submit its reports to the management.
What is expected to happen to them now?
Well, we're still waiting for the investigative committee to finish with its work, and the committee is expected to submit its report in the next 2 weeks. They'll submit that report to the management. Hopefully, when they're done with their work, I'm sure they'll make their findings known to the public.
Thank you so much, Maxwell Agbagba. Join us with details of the GS statement. Now, as the dredging of the Kole Lagoon continues, questions are emerging about its effectiveness in the tackling of waste problem plaguing Accra. Well, with uncertainty lingering in the air, the city awaits decisive action to address mounting environmental challenges. In today's field exhibition, my colleague Adobe Asari takes you to Sodom and Gomorrah for more.
The Kole Lagoon here in Accra has been normalized as a symbol of environmental degradation and waste mismanagement. The government's initiative to dredge the lagoon aimed at tackling the mountain waste problem faces scrutiny as locals express uncertainty about its effectiveness. Kwekwe J, a footwear vendor near the lagoon, highlights the shortfall of the dredging exercise, which aimed at addressing the root cause of the waste issue.
The lagoon is being dredged, but I think it's waste of time and resources, because after this exercise, the lagoon will accumulate filth again. The dredging exercise isn't the solution to our waste problems. There's a root cause to the filth which isn't being tackled.
The absence of bins, a crucial location, Mr. Ajay says, is forcing residents to resort to dumping waste in gutters.
You will observe that there are no bins in Accra and many other towns. The absence of bins, I believe, is the root cause of the filth which we see everywhere in town. If the government really wants to fight these waste problems, they should provide bins.
Reflecting on the deteriorating sanitation issues in Accra, contrary to the president's pledge to make it the cleanest city in Africa, Mr. Ajay placed blame squarely on leadership. He emphasized the normalization of filth in areas like Sodom and Gomorrah, where the stench has become a part of daily life.
There used to be bins at Vantage Point in Accra, and its help kept littering. Now it seems no one cares. I think they should bring back that initiative.
The sentiment expressed by Jay echoes the frustration of many residents who witness the worsening waste crisis without tangible solutions. Despite government's efforts, the underlying issue of waste management remains unresolved, leaving communities grappling with the consequences of environmental neglect. Adobe Asari's report for Joy News.
Now, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abdullahi Jinapor, is emphasizing the need to boost the capacity of the Minerals Commission to effectively oversee and regulate small-scale mining activities across the country. Well, his calls comes on the back of devastating impact of illegal mining across the country. According to the minister, equipping the Minerals Commission with adequate resources would enable it to play its role efficiently. There's more in this report.
The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abujinapo, visited the site of a 7-story building office complex, laboratory and museum for the Minerals Commission in Kumasi. The visit was to inspect the pace of work. The building is said to be 71% complete, awaiting official handover and commissioning by October. According to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abujinapo, small-scale mining remains a double-edged sword that comes with significant environmental challenges if not managed responsibly. He noted that equipping the Minerals Commission with adequate resources would enable it to play its role efficiently.
The bulk of mining takes place in the middle belt of our country. We're talking about Ashanti, we're talking about Western North, we're talking about Hafo, we're talking about Western region, we're talking about Central region. And therefore, if we are going to have to come to grips with the mining industry of our country, large-scale mining, where we will have a promotion of large-scale mining in our country, which will contribute to the national economy of our country, and also particularly if we're going to have to be able to regulate small-scale mining in our country, it will mean that the Minerals Commission should have the requisite infrastructure, they should have the requisite personnel, they should have the requisite operational capacity to regulate the mining sector of our country.
He says the government is committed to decentralizing the Minerals Commission to regulate the operations of small-scale miners.
You know, the problem we've had, which is why we've had this breakdown in regulation in the mining sector of our country, particularly small-scale mining sector of our country, because we've not been able to regulate the sector in the manner that we should. You have the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission sitting in Accra. The mining is taking place in Obuasi and the rest, and you do not have enough personnel to inspect, to ensure that licenses, when they are applied for, are processed on time, and so on and so on. This is what has brought us where we are today, and it's been years of neglect of not putting in place these kinds of infrastructure and putting in place enhancing the operational capacity of the Minerals Commission, because the Minerals Commission, that is the regulator of the mining sector of our country. And so what we are doing, we are building this, we are building one in Tamale, we are building one in Bole, we've built one, I'm commissioning one very soon in next week in Akimoda and Bibiani. And so we took a deliberate decision that if we are going to be able to bring sanity in the mining sector of our country, particularly the small-scale mining sector of our country, it will mean that the regulator must be where the mining takes place. They have to build their offices there, they have to have personnel there, they have to have the operational capacity and the regulatory capacity to regulate the mining sector of our country. So this is major, this is significant.
Matthew Kweku AEC is the Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Commission.
Asanko and Obuasi, those will be run from here. Let me repeat: Newmont, Ahafo North and South, Asanko and Obuasi. Yes, and then you have one in Tamale and Boga that will take care of the northern sector. So we are on course and we'll have more personnel so that we'll become more efficient.
For Joy News, Nana Boachi Dankwa Yadom, Kumasi.
Well, some pupils at Kantamanso cluster of schools in the Kantamanso municipality continue to reel from the impact of a rainstorm that ripped off some classroom roofs about a fortnight ago. Authorities at the affected schools had no option but to merge some classes, pushing the student population to over 100 in a single class with no clear timeline as to when normalcy will return. Well, this came to light when the former MP and regent of the area, Nilai Afote, paid medical bills of 4 students injured during the rainstorm. There's more in this report by Kwame Yanka.
The rainstorm over a fortnight ago threatened both human lives and destroyed property. From ripped-off classrooms to smashed cars, the negative impact of the rainstorm is quite telling. This has compelled authorities to merge some junior high classes to accommodate the students as a temporary measure with the hope of having all affected structures at Katamanso cluster of schools fixed. Regent of Katamanso and former MP for Katamanso constituency, Nilai Afutagbo, after paying the medical bills of pupils injured during the rainstorm, appealed to authorities to double their steps.
Because the teachers have complained of they not being able to put the children in the classroom to teach them and some of the issues they are going through. So I'm just calling on the authorities. I know the MC is there. The MC have gone beyond his level. I know there is some contribution that he can give. I'm calling on my colleagues who are today ministers, the Minister for Education. We've been together to at least focus on or attend to our plea, because we'll all be at rest and we'll be happy when the issues are attended to, so that what we are going through today, what the children are going through, will become a thing of the past.
After witnessing the congestion in the classrooms, Nilaya Fotagbo says there is a need to check birth rates.
I'm talking about giving birth to children. I'm talking about family planning. The speed at which they are going and the speed at which our parents are producing. Sometimes you can't run with them. And I know it will always be a problem. But somewhere along the line, we should always focus on the issues and then attend to them. That's the only thing that we can do when the challenges arise. If I've not come here to see what the situations are, I wouldn't have been able to know what it is on the ground. And I also call on the MMDCEs in the country, especially in Greater Accra, to move out of their offices to visit facilities of schools, health institutions, water projects, and very important things, so that at least Ghanaians will have some relief.
Meanwhile, Assembly member for Penkwai electoral area, Joshua Bote Afutu, is appealing for immediate solution to the situation at hand.
The incident happened, the DCE and the authorities, they were here and they assessed the damage, and they sent the engineers to come and assess it. But as at the time they are coming, that one day, I don't know anything about it. But all what I'm telling them is that they should fast track it so that we can get our things done, so that the children will be relieved in learning. If they can do a story building for us, even where the roof has damaged, if we can put in pillars so that they can deck it and raise another structure so that they can ease the densely populated classroom.
Both Ponkatamansu Municipal Chief Executive Samuel Okwamankwa and Education Director Harry Evans Arthur, having earlier visited the affected schools, have assured of addressing the challenges. So far, 3 out of 4 injured pupils have recovered and returned to school.
Let's take you to Kumasi now, where over 50 girls with special needs at Garden City Special School in the Ashanti region struggle to purchase sanitary towels and maintain menstrual hygiene, relying heavily on their teachers for support. Well, the challenges these girls face are highlighting the broader issue of menstrual hygiene management among special needs students, prompting teachers to call for urgent assistance. Love News' Anita Sewa has more in this report.
The Garden City Special School houses over 100 students with special needs. More than 50 of them are adolescent girls who are unable to take care of themselves during menstruation. They are between the ages of 12 to 40 years. Nancy Baidu, a teacher, narrates the barriers that come with taking care of girls with special needs during menstruation.
Most of the times, with their condition, they are not able to fix the pad themselves, and they can't calculate their days where the flow will come. So most of the times it's spoil themselves. They spoil themselves before they come for you to clean them, and then you fix them properly for them. And they've soiled themselves. You have to bath for them using disinfectant. We normally use Dettol. Okay, you bath for the person, and then you fix the pad for the person. Only few of them can do, but most of them you have to bath for them. Washing their private part. Even sometimes you might be eating and one will just remove the pad. Madam Share Moja.
Some of the students are unable to purchase sanitary pads due to increasing prices. Nancy Baidu is calling on government and non-governmental organizations to come to their aid.
Benevolent people, individuals, governments, they can help the children with the pad and also with hand gloves.
As part of the 2024 World Menstrual Hygiene Day, the Greater Accra Metropolitan Sanitation and Water Project donated 40 boxes of sanitary pads to the Garden City Special School. Engineer George Esiedu, project coordinator at GKMA and Gamma Water Sanitation Project, says the ministry is committed to providing more gender and disability-friendly sanitation facilities.
The focus this year is that we need to let the differently able, we don't leave them out. So we came here to also re-emphasize the point that to be able to manage sanitation, to be able to manage hygiene, to be able to manage menses, you need access to water, you need access to improved toilet facility, and then you need the materials that the girl child will need.
For Joy News, Anita Sewa Ajugam reporting.
Let's stay in Kumasi because Hope Exchange Medical Center is tackling the challenge of complex surgical procedures with new technology that enables real-time communication with surgeons at the National University Health System in Singapore during operations, while the facility under the Christian Health Services of Ghana aims to improve surgical outcomes and reduce post-surgery complications with this advancement. There's more in this report by Clinton Yebwa.
The mixed reality technology is being piloted and will introduce augmented reality surgery in Ghana. It was received from experts at the National University Health System in Singapore to be fused into surgical procedures to address gaps at the surgery unit. The mixed reality at the Hope Exchange Medical Center will leverage the cutting-edge capabilities of Microsoft HoloLens, representing a convergence of virtual and physical worlds to solve complex surgery complications. Associate Professor Glenn Bonney says the initiative will give surgeons an interactive and expertise-sharing experience with experts across the world during complex surgeries.
And how it works is it sits on the head of a surgeon like this. And essentially it allows this to connect now in space from Singapore. We are able to see the surgery and we are able to draw lines and to help surgeons here as well to do operations, as well as after the operation. If we are doing ward rounds, we can actually use this to look at patients, to look at scans, to render them into 3 dimensions, and we can have surgeons and doctors here while other surgeons and specialists around the world, including my hospital in Singapore, are able to support complex cases like this. And we're trying to create an ecosystem where the world can support complex surgical care, complex multidisciplinary care for patients, as well as the care of them post-operatively, for example. And we're good friends and collaborators with Hope Exchange for many years now. For about 6 years now, we've had a relationship. The team have been out before. It's been a joy to see the amazing strengths this hospital has grown into.
Medical Superintendent at Hope Exchange, Akosia Frempoma Amwating, notes the process will help reduce mortality from surgeries.
They are going to be having laparotomies. Laparotomies are incisions, basically having a surgical incision in the abdomen, intra-op operations. So there are different procedures they are going to be performing. A 3D image can be formed, and intra-op, they can guide the surgeons here. So we get extra help from our external partners without having them physically here. It helps to give the patients a better chance at life, and it also helps to reduce the stress of them coming in and out to help us with the surgeries.
Reporting for Joy News, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
Well, some first-time voters living with varied forms of disabilities are pushing for free tertiary education policy to be instituted at the various political parties prepared to launch their manifestos ahead of the 2024 general elections. Well, these young voters face unique challenges in assessing their higher education, from financial barriers to physical accessibility. Free tertiary education, they argue, would alleviate some of these burdens and provide equal opportunities for all. Well, these marginalized individuals in society believe strongly that free tertiary education is crucial for their empowerment and inclusion. Listen to the interaction with Joy Prime's Lois Jola Adeyemi on Just Turned 18.
For instance, it's someone's father who is taking care of me in the tertiary institution. So, and I have a friend too in Adidome Senior High School who is a visually impaired. He have to go for fishing before he can come to school. So, saying this, those are the things that will influence me, because if not, he, for instance, cannot attend university. Yeah.
Anybody else agreeing with what Foster has said, that the education system that he said is, made suitable for persons with disabilities not working as it should?
Yes, I also agree with him, because some people having disabilities graduate the secondary school with very good grades, but there's no one to support them. And Ghana, it's very difficult for you as a person with disability to get a side job, which you can use to pay your university fees and hostel fees. So if the government makes education free for people with disability, I think it is very good. So it actually influence our decision.
Okay, I'm not that okay. Yeah, because even though things are or measures are put in place to make education easy for us to achieve, but so there are some things that we need, or we need the government to do to us. Like, for instance, the car equipment that assist us or help us to live, or to be able to live as the special needs students. Some of them, they are too expensive. For instance, my wheelchair like this, so when you want to get it, there is a huge sum of money that before you get. Special needs students that we need support from friends, family, and the government. In fact, the whole community, we need support from them. And our equipment, they are too expensive to our affordability. I don't understand it. So if the government can put some measures in place to make the gadget or the equipment this thing affordable to us, I will be happy about it.
We, the marginalized in society, tend to be sidelined during the extended term of a political party. By getting to elections, then they remember us and come with many promises. I would pay attention to what I believe is feasible and very applicable to me, and that would assist me in making my decision to vote. So these are the three things I'll look out for.
Okay. Now let me come to you, my darling Esther. Tell me.
Okay, so 3 things that would make me to vote is, I think, adequate infrastructures that are accessible to persons with disability, because in the university there are lots of infrastructures that are not accessible, so sometimes you finding your way to lectures becomes difficult. So when they take note of this, I think I would vote.
Well, it's time now for business. We're taking a quick breather. Dara will be in studio shortly.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. For the third consecutive time, Chief Operating Officer of the Multimedia Group, Ken Ansah, has been adjudged the CEO of the year 2023 in the media and radio sector at the 8th Ghana CEO Summit. The honor bestowed upon Ken Ansah was a testament to his unwavering leadership, business acumen, and commitment to professionalism in the media and radio space throughout the past year.
CEO of the Year, Media, Radio, Multimedia Group, Ken Ansah.
Ken Ansah's visionary approach and exceptional ethical practices had indelibly impacted the business community, fostering growth, investment, and job creation in Ghana. Established in 2016, the Ghana CEO Summit annually convenes over 500 top CEOs, heads of state, entrepreneurs, and business leaders from across West Africa and the globe.
Congratulations to Chief Ken. Now, to other news, Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Abnosa Asare, is projecting the Ghana cedi to remain relatively stable due to the expected foreign inflows in the latter part of 2024. Speaking at the 8th CEO Summit in Accra, she emphasized funds from the World Bank, IMF, and other donor partners will shore up the nation's reserves.
And we noted the impact of the volatile forex situation on businesses. We accordingly indicated we have sufficient forex reserve at the Bank of Ghana. We also expanded on efforts to secure about $2.3 billion before the end of the year to add on to the significant foreign exchange reserves. This we're going to get through the World Bank DPO 2 and also the IMF inflows that we are hoping that after they go to the board in June, there will be an inflow of about $360 million and other sources of foreign currency, which we are hoping will bring into the country to shore up what we have. And so there is no cause for alarm. And so we shouldn't also encourage panic buying.
Now, economist Dr. Edu Saga has described the decision by the central bank to keep the policy rate unchanged at 29% as a prudent decision. The governor of the central bank at a press briefing yesterday said current pressures were under control. We'll hear from Dr. Sarkodie in a bit, but first, this report from the MPC briefing.
Speaking at the news conference, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, maintained that these monetary measures will complement other fiscal measures being implemented by government.
At the 3i Summit, we got some time to interact very much with a lot of the remittance transfer operators. And it's clear that most of them work with both the fintechs and the banks. So these foreign exchange resources associated with remittances are placed in the nostril balances of our commercial banks. And the banks have access to those resources to finance imports. So it comes to the broader Ghanaian banking system. I'm not sure if the central bank wants to go and chase those resources also to build reserves. At the moment, we don't intend taking those resources from the commercial banks.
The governor also ruled out suggestions that the IMF program is making it difficult for it to intervene to support the local currency. The Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addison has also been justifying the decision to direct forex bureaus not to publish their rates on social media and engage in outdoor advertising.
I'm not sure if that assessment is right. Yes, we have some indicative targets in terms of the amount of intervention that the central bank will do. But these are not performance targets, right? So they are not deal breakers. So there is some flexibility in terms of those intervention budgets. I think the most important consideration is to look at the program objectives. The program objectives requires that we would build up a substantial amount of reserves because of where we started from. We started from having very low foreign exchange reserves with a lot of liabilities, foreign liabilities for the central bank. And what we have tried to do in the period that the program has been into place is to correct that.
Dr. Addison has been giving some reasons why it might be difficult for credit to businesses to pick up soon or in the coming months.
Lending in real terms have gone down. That, again, is an issue which you would not expect to be corrected immediately. It will take some time for banks to, regain the confidence to lend because of the non-performing loans which are increasing. You would notice that there have been several large exposures in the banking system which have deteriorated from the recent asset quality review that was done by BSD, and most of them have had to make provisions for those losses. So the environment is really not conducive for now for the real sector, and we would see some of these things settle down. Hopefully, as we get to make progress in the rate of inflation and this currency is more stable, those are the things which create the necessary conditions for banks to be confident enough to lend.
This is what the governor of the Bank of Ghana said when he was asked about the status of Societe Generale and whether the group owners will be moving to dispose their interest in Ghana.
On SG informing the regulator of its next line of action, this is an area where we have not formally received any information on that from SG, both from their group nor from the office in Accra. I have had discussions with their office in Côte d'Ivoire, and I have complained that we don't want to be surprised. We are hearing things in the air, and we want to see the long list of those that are interested in acquiring their shares. We do not even want to see a short list. So I have expressed those concerns to their representative at the Côte d'Ivoire office, and hopefully we would hear something from the group very soon.
Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addis was however optimistic about the outlook, insisting that despite these challenges, inflation rate will still end the year within the band of 13 to 17%.
Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, addressing the press yesterday about the decision by the Monetary Policy Committee to keep the policy rate unchanged at 29%. Economist Dr. Idowu Sarkodie has been reacting to that.
Well, we all expect a single-digit policy rate, but the circumstances in which we all find ourselves does not warrant a further reduction in the policy rate because we are still in the process of fighting inflation. The fight against inflation is to be done by all, but BOG is just using the tools available to it, which is the monetary policy tools. And so they mentioned the uncertainties which has been fueled by the geopolitical tensions. They mentioned the fiscal consolidation which is on course. And so every businessman and woman would expect a lower policy rate to cause a lower lending rate and also a lower borrowing cost. But unfortunately, BOG can do little about it because the disinflation has slowed. The disinflation is steep. It's not steep, it's slowed. In other words, our fight against inflation is yielding results all right, but not as fast as we would have wished. And therefore, they are careful not to reduce the policy rate because even globally, most central banks are embarking on tight monetary policies. The reason the US dollar has been strengthened recently because their Fed increased their policy rate, and therefore many economies in the world, many central banks are embarking on what we call tight monetary policies. And so, yes, the rate is high, but at least it's better than lowering it and allow inflation to go to 50%. You don't want that. You don't want inflation and the city to depreciate further to eat away the value of the capital. You prefer inflation and the depreciation to be tamed as against a relatively higher policy rate. So we always have to strike a balance. So this is more or less a lesser devil.
And that's it for this segment. The news returns after the break.
Well, that's it for News Desk. For more news, please log on to myjournline.com. Some top stories there. Ambulance case, sack the Attorney General if he doesn't resign, and that's coming from Professor PIJ to President Akufo-Addo. My name is Faustina Savo. Have a pleasant day as you enjoy the rest of our programs.